All right, I'm here with Daniel for the NQAT Daily, and we're going to talk about the Champions League. City and Arsenal both losing, and we can enjoy that, but also some implications for United's potential place in Europe next season. I think first, Daniel, did you enjoy City getting beaten?
I always enjoy the cut and thrust of the Champions League knockout stages. It's just unrivaled, isn't it? The zenith of football.
I don't remember what it's like, to be honest. So since I haven't seen United in a knockout game in the Champions League for a while.
Was the last one? Oh, it wasn't Moyes, was it? It was Sevilla with Mourinho.
Yeah.
Was it that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, goodness me, that was appalling. But yeah, I was watching with a friend who supports Leeds, and he was like, you want Bayern and Madrid to win. And I said, well, not exactly, because actually I think Arsenal have got a much better chance of beating City than Bayern do, because I felt like Bayern have the nous, but City have that. They have that over Arsenal, but Bayern don't have it over them. And Bayern beat Arsenal really last night, felt like, with a bit of star quality and a bit of know-how, that combination of things. I think City have those things. And Bayern wouldn't have been able to match them physically. And why are we even discussing this? Because they're both out. Same as us.
Same as us, yeah. Well, we can enjoy it for a moment. Schadenfreude is all we've got at the moment, isn't it? So we can enjoy that. Yeah, I think over the two legs, City can probably say they should have won. They created enough chances and made too many mistakes. And they were completely dominant in terms of possession. Rodri afterwards was complaining that only one team was in it. I always love City complaining like that, making that particular complaint. There are many ways to skin a cat and to win a football match. And Arsenal, yeah, they were just undone by Bayern's. I mean, this is the last vestiges of this Bayern side, isn't it? They're going to break it up in the summer. Tuchel will leave, and they just about did enough. And Arsenal, they reverted to being very Arsenal-like, I think. I'm just glad we can stop all this nonsense talk about a double treble and all of that kind of crap.
The thing with Arsenal, ultimately, is that they've got lots of very good players, but how many proper elite level players do they have who, if you were like, even if like Saliba, maybe Saka, maybe, but
yeah,
probably not any, probably not any of the others. As in, like, look at Rice, say, who's an excellent player, and we'd be much better than we are if we had him.
Yeah,
compare him to Rodri.
Yeah,
and it's the difference is gigantic. Odegaard's also a brilliant player. He's not as good as De Bruyne, is he?
No, and he might not be as good as Bruno Fernandes. I think with Arsenal, and I really hate to say this, I think they're just a very well coached side by a modern manager who understands both, in defence and in possession, like modern theories and stuff like that, in a way that I suspect Ten Hag might not. I hate to say it because he's a little shit, isn't he, Arteta? But he's getting more than the sum of the parts out of that Arsenal side.
But also, if you look at the players that he's got, so he needed a spare striker last year, right? So he buys Trossard, who's a good player. And when you're playing crap teams and it's not working out, if you put him on, then that might make a difference because he's still better. He's still a good player, but although I know he scored in the first leg, he's not someone who's likely to break open a tight game for you. And like that level of player, you can't have too many of them, and you can't have too many of them in your first team. But if you look at who started last night, like Zinchenko, Jorginho, Gabriel Jesus, these are good players, but they're not players that are likely to make the difference, like the crucial difference in a European Cup quarter-final away to Bayern Munich. And obviously, the game of football, the history of football is littered with players, like unsung players who made crucial differences. But, I mean, across the piece, you look at Arsenal and you think, do I think that team is good enough to win the Champions League? No. And it's a cup competition, but still no.
Yeah. It's cup competition where there is, jeopardy in small moments, of course, but it is two legs, of course, and that reduces some of that single game jeopardy. Anyway, the impact on the coefficients, and this is really boring, might be significant because it's not just Arsenal and City going out. Today, we're recording on Thursday. Liverpool and West Ham are also likely to exit, which will leave Aston Villa as the only English team left in European football. Premier League is top of the coefficient table as it stands right now, but after this round of games, and especially after the next round of games, that's quite unlikely now. And in fact, that fifth place in the Premier League that gains a spot in the Champions League next season might not happen now. And that impacts, from a United perspective, the cascading effect down the league. So sixth place might not be the Conference League. Anyway, I'm boring myself talking about it
because I was led to. I felt at the time West Ham beating Freiburg was perceived to be quite a crucial result for this. But then I guess no one thought Atalanta were going to knock Liverpool out.
No, all the English clubs go out at the quarterfinal stage. So, yeah.
But the City game, I felt like, what the City players say is basically true. Madrid barely had a kick in this one.
Especially in the second half, yeah.
And I think one of the issues that they have here, and I said this on Twitter recently, was that I wondered if what would happen to Kobbie Mainoo would be what happened to Fabregas and what happened to Bellingham, where these are sort of box-to-box midfield players, more or less. Fabregas obviously didn't have a great engine, but Bellingham does. And will it be the case with Mainoo and as with them, where people think, well, these guys are so good close to goal that you just got to get them close to goal? But in a game like last night, Bellingham wasn't involved.
No, but he was basically striker last night. He's
right, and in that, I know he was involved in their goal, but apart from that, he wasn't involved in the game. And I felt like you can't have a player like him playing as a number 10 in a game where you're penned back in your own half, because you need him to be on the ball. And what you want Bellingham doing is you want Bellingham taking the ball off your back four, because he's press resistant. He can turn on it, he can parry it, or he can pass. And he's got football intelligence to pick the right thing to do. So it feels like I totally get why you would play him as a number 10 in most of the games, because he's going to be too good for almost everyone who's trying to mark him. But in the big games, I would say that you don't want him excluded from them. And the only way you're going to achieve that in a game where you're dominated like that is by playing him deeper.
Yeah, Ancelotti sacrificed him for a system that looked very Mourinho-like, didn't it? And that's hardly any times in the last decade that a Real Madrid side has played that way. But it tells you something about the dominance of City, that they had to play like that. Funny, The Guardian today had a piece saying, is this the end for the Premier League? In one of the most predictable editorial. Not the end, they didn't call it that. Is the Premier League still the best? And this is like a rare occasion in the last 5 years that there haven't been any Premier League sides in the Champions League semi-final. I don't know that we need to draw a larger picture from that, other than like England's two best teams at the moment got knocked out in very close ties. Probably won't happen next season. And I wouldn't bet against like 4 Premier League sides not being in the semi-final next season. Could well happen.
Like you see the City Madrid game. You play that game, goes that way 95 times out of 100. City win that game. And most of the times they win it not by a goal. It's just football is a random, chaotic game, and Madrid defended the box well. Kevin De Bruyne missed a ludicrously easy chance, and it can happen. Oh man, I enjoyed that Bernardo Silva penalty though.
You got to take joy in the small things, haven't you?
He is very small.
Yes, well, it is. Yeah, it is pretty pathetic of us, but yeah, I don't mind for the moment, for a day at least. As for United, it does change the dimensions a little bit. We're currently, are we 6th or 7th? Fucking hell.
Are we below Newcastle?
We're below Newcastle on goal difference, right, as we speak. And
can't believe we're not dealing with it right now.
Deary me. I could cope with the Europa League. It's a lot of games, although no more than next season's Champions League, which is going to be extremely bloated. But the Conference League just feels completely pointless, doesn't it?
I mean, what it gives us, I guess, is the opportunity. I mean, the Conference League, if I had the wherewithal and to be doing every Euro away, I'd be loving the Conference League. But I think that what either of those things probably give you is the opportunity to play some young players.
Yeah, sure.
Because we do have a lot of young players who are going to be who are thought to be good. Like Ibrahimov is meant to be outstanding, and we haven't seen him yet. Maybe we'll see him before the end of the season. Seems unlikely. We might see Harry Amas, I guess.
Yeah,
but those early stages of the Europa League, fucking soul destroying, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Say fucking if we're going on YouTube.
It's a big slip. It is. Yeah, we might have to, just as punishment for swearing on YouTube, we might have to shift you for the midweek ones next season. You can have United versus FC Karabag in the Conference League qualifying round. You'll enjoy that one.
But yeah, I think one of the things I do remember very well, though, is that first season of Van Gaal when we're not in Europe, and then we lose to MK Dons. It was fucking grim the first half of that season.
God,
And not just because the football was grim, which it was, but also grim because there just wasn't enough of it.
Yeah.
Like we're all ill, we're all addicts, and one hit a week is insufficient, particularly when we're used to not that.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to your point about European football, it makes a big difference for how United construct their squad next season because we don't have European football. We don't need a massive squad. We just don't. You can fill in the gaps with younger players, and you might recalculate how you spend your money. So, quite a few players are going to leave. They're going to encourage a few to go, and then they might buy fewer players of higher quality.
That sounds good.
That would be nice.
I love fewer players of higher quality. Oh, that sounds like a policy that we've been pursuing for
never
a decade.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I would say, I don't know. So obviously there is that FFP situation if we don't get into Europe, but there's going to be some money available. We're going to shift. I mean, we say this every summer, don't we? We're going to sell some dickheads and get them off the wage bill. But maybe it means, I don't know, maybe you might think maybe you keep Varane and sell Casemiro if you can, but maybe it means that you get rid of them both. Maybe it means that you get rid of McTominay, who you might have thought to keep, but if an offer comes, you have to take it because the amount of money you need to try and make us not. I mean, I was sort of thinking make United great again would be like a mugger, a shirt logo or some shit. But I'd sort of settle at this point for like make United not disgusting again.
Yeah. Baby steps, right? Walk before you run. Yeah. I mean, I do think if United aren't in Europe, there's zero reason to keep Varane or Casemiro. They're just on massive wages. To be honest, United have oriented themselves into a better wage position anyway last summer with so many players leaving. And especially Ronaldo and Pogba going, that took $750,000 a week off the wage bill. If Casemiro and Varane leave, that's another 600,000 off the wage bill. United's now got the third or maybe fourth largest wage bill in the Premier League. I mean, the correlation between wages and success is quite high. So you do need to be spending money. The goal here is not to be as cheap as possible. It's just for the performance levels, United spend way too much.
Yeah, agree. And again, we're still in this situation of who's it going to be, and there's nothing. I mean, I was told the other day that Thiago Motta, who'll probably be my choice simply because I hate almost all of the others. But apparently, he's going to Juve,
right?
And this is one of the things because they haven't made a decision, and I think part of it is they probably wanted to be fair to Ten Hag, and I guess I applaud that, but it means that Amorim's probably gone, and maybe Thiago Motta's also gone.
Yeah,
and I'd like some imagination, like that list you read last week on the pod of all the betting favourites. It sort of sounded like the elite level Kirbishley Allardyce roundabout.
Oh yeah, well that's very true, and but I don't think there's much value in United just getting another like, for example, Tuchel leaves Bayern. I don't think there's any value in United getting him because we know he has not succeeded against Pep Guardiola, right? So I'd much rather United.
Hang on. He beat him in a Champions League final.
Oh, that's true. Sorry.
You don't get Tuchel because he's got a comb over.
Oh God, a really bad one as well. It's getting really bad. Yeah, I mean, okay. Another way of putting that is, I think I'd be more comfortable with United going for the coach we think that might become the next elite coach, the next best one, who's up and coming, rather than one of the elite roundabout coaches.
Yeah, agree entirely. Like, we want someone to come and build something. I mean, Ten Hag was meant to be that.
Yeah,
it hasn't worked out.
No,
but that's the same. Like Tuchel, I want someone to come for a couple of years, and I don't think that Ineos want that either. The problem will come when they pick the wrong person. If and when they pick someone, and it's almost not their fault because the choices are so rubbish. And it's a state of affairs.
I was looking prompted by the Tifo podcast, which had a bunch of tacticos on, as you'd imagine. But it was a very good conversation. I put that on my Twitter. I ended up looking at the expected goals difference. So, where you would expect United to be in terms of goals scored versus goals against. And United are 16th in the Premier League table. 16th. So we've actually overperformed this season.
Oh,
dearie me. It's bad state of affairs. All right, we'll leave it there. Dan has his head in his hands. Contemplating what he's done in his life to deserve this.
I don't look. I mean, I feel like like people of our age have done all right out of United and all right out of football. But I was thinking when you say put my head in my hands, I remember Leeds used to have a goalie before our time called Gary Sprake, and the saying with Gary Sprake was he put his head in his hands and dropped it.
Dearie me,
which is a good image.
Yeah, it is. Enjoy that one.
Which not as devastating as the image of me showering. I advised Ed that I needed to shower before we recorded, and he became very sensitive about the notion that people do sometimes clean themselves.
They do.
I did it in a wetsuit, so as not to offend you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Yeah, everyone will enjoy that. Bye now.